What is up, everybody? This is Alex from IHE TV, and I'm talking about this weird movie that everyone seems to love, Kpop Demon Hunters. I'm gonna nip this in the bud first. Why are you watching this movie? It's made for 14-year-old girls. Yep, I will admit I'm not really the demo or the target demo for this movie, but there are multiple angles that I'm kind of intrigued was intrigued and interested by. The first being that it's Sony Pictures Animation, same team that worked on the Spider-Verse movies, which I absolutely adore. I think they're wonderful, wonderful films that have kind of revolutionized this big budget animation scene with these, frame skippy, creative visuals. You're allowed to be like colorful and crazy and stylish in this space now. And I don't know, I was kind of curious, but it's been a while since I grew up on these like totally spies, like weird pervy French 3 women fighting or doing something, Powerpuff Girls, all this kind of thing. It was kind of interesting, and I kept seeing these like GIFs of the faces that they make the characters do, and it's like, that looks kind of fun and weird. I love animation, so what do they do with this? How do they make this clash of ideas work? And it's getting really good reviews. People are loving it. Really high Metascore, like a nearly perfect Rotten Tomatoes. And I don't know, I was mostly kind of like intrigued by this premise and how they would make it work. And the way they make it work is by not making it work and not caring about it at all. Because the the main motivation of this movie is to, boost this soundtrack and have this like whole big brand of the Huntrix fake band. You can't really detach the fan culture that's associated with K-pop. It's like such a big part of it. It's known for how toxic it can get and how cruel these producers and controlling the whole industry is, especially to the women that are trapped in it. So I figured they can't be making a movie about this and not at least touch on that. And while it does half-assedly address like the fan culture kind of jokingly, where like I wrote down, I think a kind of thing they get at the idea of hiding your problems and fixing it before anyone can kind of twig on and this kind of stuff. But there's an inherent conflict of interest, I feel, with trying to tell a story that's sincere, but also, having a score that has a bunch of literal enormous K-pop stars in it, with this being a clear motivation to like boost these songs and build up this huge brand. And to me, that was kind of what would need to make it work, is to, 1, be funny, and 2, have some kind of gravitas or intent or hook to this smashed together idea of these K-pop demon hunters. And it kind of peaked for me maybe like 5-10 minutes in, where it shows this like history and this lore of this idea of these 3 women through time who defeat demons through some kind of song or singing. I thought maybe they were going to almost go with some kind of Sinners type thing, where it's like the power of music through, and the way it's used through a certain culture or community through time, and how that translates to today, and maybe what is lost or gained from that balance of the like commercial side of it and people adapting it and using it for their own gain. But it's ultimately a kind of frivolous kids movie in the end that is propped up by that animation style and the kind of shareability of the songs and clips or whatever. I was kind of tuned out by it showing its full hand by the point where it's like, oh, we've got to do the Idol Awards, and the kind of main crux of the plot is that they've got to win a song contest against a rival boy band. Could have worked if the writing was better, if it was funnier or more interesting, but to me it just kind of stays at a baseline. Yeah, I guess this is good if you're like a 12-year-old girl, but for anyone else, I don't really get why it's getting the praise that it is. It feels quite corporate and bland and ultimately soulless in a way that something like, you might say it's an unfair comparison, but a Spider-Verse, which is actually funny, clever, visually way more interesting. The underlying like commentary of the movie is better in something like a Spider-Verse 2, of what it's actually kind of communicating to not only just kids, but people of all ages, of kind of like not letting the expectations of other people command your destiny or your place in the world. And even though this film kind of tries to go for something like that, where it's going on about, the real villain is your internal monologue, and you can't let those negative thoughts control you, and it's kind of personified as these demons. But the whole demon lore and the villain and whatnot takes such a huge backseat, and I was really disappointed actually with it, because I quite like these character designs. But the main villain in the movie is just kind of like a wall of fire. I thought they were going to go for maybe a cool character that emerges at some point, like personify their inner hatred with a character beyond the rival boy band that is just designed to be like as hot and fan servicey as possible. And my god, the fan service stuff, I mean, it might be implied just by the name K-pop, like it's out of control in the movie. It's so like nearly every scene is designed to have like a moment that could be turned into a GIF and shared online, or I guess back in the day like a Tumblr type thing. It's mostly just that framing and the structure of it that really let me down. Like the writing is so soap opera bland, boring. They have the Idol Awards, they have the lie that is hidden until the end of the second act, so everyone can have an argument and fall out for 2 minutes. And getting back to what I was saying about kind of the underlying message of the movie, where I read some articles, and I'll go into one shortly, saying that like the idea of these three women who are allowed to be silly and goofy and do these funny faces and be ridiculous is like a cool thing about it. And I agree, but I also think ignoring the fact that like this inner hatred that the characters are grappling with is definitely influenced by the pressures of the disgusting fan culture that K-pop like is. You can't detach from that whole world. And like there's such a pathetic glossing over of that, where like the low point of the movie for these characters is when their popularity ranking starts going down, like in the charts type thing. It's like, is that the best message? Like, number has to go up, and if you don't maintain your popularity forever, then that's tied to your self-worth, right? So that just seems like a really horrible thing to encourage with kids, It's like, you have to be youthful and perfect and beautiful forever and popular, and if you're not, then it's the low point of your life and you suck. And even though, there are little nods towards these kind of things, it still, in the end, to me, kind of romanticizes the whole idea in a way that's, it's fun, it's breezy, it's not that important, it's not that big of a deal for the target demo. But I just feel like, as far as being a good movie is concerned, that's like a really lazy approach that could have elevated the movie or given it an actual backbone. But no, every time it's like... there was a point where I thought they were going to indulge in it. There's quite a good scene with this doctor character who kind of assesses them all and susses them out on like a psychological level, even though that's not why they're there. And I thought, oh, that's cool. Maybe they're going to like go somewhere with this. But ultimately, it can't commit to it because of its conflict of interest of having these K-pop stars in it, and it ultimately having to live and breathe in the K-pop world way more than any sort of demon hunter-y, fun, poppy universe that they want to establish. It's way more about like the randomness, and as I say, getting streams on the songs and making viral TikTok hits that are clippable. Obviously, I can't go deep into the music because I just don't care about these songs. The most catchy one, I guess, was Soda Pop to me, and that was kind of like the whole point of it. And it's, I don't know, it can be kind of annoying to me when movies do that, where in the movie, all the characters are like, "Whoa, it's so catchy, isn't this awesome?" It's like, yeah, because that's what I mean about the kind of corporate, soulless nature of it. The characters are weak, animation is good. I guess if you like these songs in this style of music, then it will probably bump it up a large amount for you. So let's go through this Variety article that I found kind of interesting. Inside the viral success of Kpop Demon Hunters, fashion, weird girls, and great pop music, Huntrix is here to show us how it's done. The fictional girl group at the heart of the Kpop Demon Hunters uses the power of their voices to slay soul-eating foes and protect their adoring fans. Yeah, the fans is like such a big part of it, and their manager, who's just like this cool, chill guy, like, and who lets them eat, which is totally realistic to this world. A rabid group that's expanded well past just the animated devotees depicted in the film. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, there you go. Like, they are slaying the charts in real life. Funny that. Kpop Demon Hunters, produced by Sony Pictures Animation and released by Netflix on June 20th, has reached the streamer's top 10 in all 93 countries tracked and hit number 1 in 33 countries including South Korea, Brazil, France, Mexico, and the Philippines. For me, it's been 7 years since I pitched this almost to the day. Co-director Maggie Kang tells Variety on the film's viral success, which she says she never saw coming. That's kind of a tongue twister. Which she says she never saw coming. You're really working in a hole. You have no idea. You're looking at the same stuff over and over again for a few years. The same jokes, the same moments. Embarking on a musical journey of self-acceptance. Up until the point where they're no longer a youthful K-pop band. Then what are they going to do? They should do a sequel where they're like, turn 30 and no one cares about them anymore. And how they deal with that whole psychological shift. Throughout that journey, Rumi, Mira, and Zoe are of course glamorous and badass as they light up the stage and slice through demons, but they're also unafraid to wipe off their makeup and get silly, frequently pulling wild facial expressions that could only be achieved through animation. And that was one of the better parts of the movie, were the like crazy faces they did, and yeah, that's one of the cooler parts of it, for sure. That was one of the first ingredients of the concept. I really wanted to see women act stupid, Kang says, adding that she faced pushback when attempting to create comedic women on a past project. Speaking of the music, it's impossible to extricate the success of Kpop Demon Hunters from its no-skip soundtrack, featuring instant hits that seamlessly combine K-pop style and music theater-like storytelling, reminiscent of Alan Menken's best work at Disney. I think that's a crazy thing to say. I really don't think it's at that level. There was another Netflix show that did this where it felt like, oh, you're trying to get like a big viral hit going. You've crunched the numbers, you've got the right focus test together, and you've figured out that this is how you do it. So they mentioned a bunch of K-pop sensations that were in the film. You never know when you dive into these things that are narrative if they're going to land in the music space outside, he says. The Twice Trio ultimately recorded their own version of Huntrix's diss track Takedown and even appear in the film's credits, while the group's song Strategy also plays in the film and on the soundtrack. Yeah, because you've got an instant fan base, because it's like a marketing thing, right? Like the overlap of the fans are going to love it, and that's why the critique of the fans is never like a part of the movie. Like, from beginning to end, it's always constantly like, we do everything for the fans, it almost doesn't even matter what we want, and at the end of the movie, it's still countless shots of adoring crazy fans crying and screaming for their favorite K-pop band. I find K-pop to be the most theatrical genre of music today, and that obviously lends itself to the story and the screen. Our goal from day one was to have the songs double function as songs that forward or comment on the action story, because I do not believe you can take up screen time and not have it do something for the story. Okay. He's particularly glad that fans have been listening to the soundtrack on repeat as they can glean the deeper meanings behind the earworms. Case in point, Saja Boys, bubblegum pop, soda pop, partially inspired by BTS hits like Butter and Dynamite. May sound like a sweet declaration of puppy love, but a deeper listen reveals the demon's true predatory nature. Oh. The idea was to innocently and naively seduce the fans to show up and be the most adorable, sexy, in some ways, light fun. It's actually saying, I'm gonna prey on you. That's what these demons do. They suck your souls. But you would never know it. See, they're like on the border of addressing this. But the way the main characters deal with this conflict is to just do the same thing back, basically. Like, accept yourself for who you are, but also release a breezy pop hit that can get tens of millions of streams on Spotify. We pull from what we love, great fashion, weird girls, and great pop music. And a tone that's more bold than maybe normally you try for animation. Is it bold? I feel like it's actually quite risk-averse. Like, this style of anime, if this came out before Spider-Verse, maybe. I don't think there's anything bold about breezy pop music that sounds like, you get like some of the biggest K-pop stars in the world to make some tracks. I don't really understand what's bold about this, outside of the funny faces inspired by anime in 3D. At a time when countless think pieces have been penned about the downfall of original animation, particularly in the light of recent box office flops from major players like Pixar, Abuhan says studios should look to broaden their outlook instead of relying on tired tropes. Yeah, but like, the recent Pixar stuff has been really boring. And also, Inside Out 2, that was like last year, right? And that's like the biggest animated film ever. The audience can tell that there's passion and belief in every choice. The conventional wisdom about what an animated film can be is narrower than it should be. It's a narrower vision than what's possible, and audiences are outgrowing that. That is a good way of putting it, but I just don't think it actually applies to this movie. This movie is actually more like the inverse of like, it's not really pushing any bounds. It's a, for younger audiences, takes no risks, propped up by its goofy animation movie, which is what these have been in America for decades. Kang's greatest hope is that the success of Kpop Demon Hunters will encourage Hollywood dealmakers to think carefully about the kinds of stories that audiences really want. When you create IP that is exciting to people, everyone's inspired, she says. I just hope that this lights a fire under some people who can make these decisions, because it can be really beautiful and special even though it's scary, just like fighting demons. Kind of a terrible article. And also, like, I feel they're really, like, at its best, I'll take, if you like the music more than me, fine. If you vibe with the story and characters more than me, fine. Especially the humor didn't really work for me. There were a couple okay jokes, but a lot of it was just quite lazy to me. But to act like this is some boundary-pushing, revolutionary animated film, let's relax. Let's calm down a little bit, yeah? I don't know. Am I being too harsh on this? Because to me, this is a kind of a low 2.5 star, like a 5 out of 10. It's, if it didn't have that animation, but had the exact same story and looked like monsters versus aliens, I don't think anyone would care about this. Wish they could have hidden some more clever commentary in the actual writing of the movie, instead of through these K-pop songs, which I don't think people are listening to because of the subtle commentary about fan culture and how it preys on people through using youthful, perfectly pretty and done up men and women who are managed by evil lizard people. Let me know what you think. I'll see you on the next video.